Hello, friends. Welcome back to Phistoric. Today, we break down the mind-bending thriller, Next. The movie begins with a man named Chris Johnson sitting alone in a diner, constantly checking his watch as if expecting someone. Nothing happens, so he leaves. Chris lives in Las Vegas, performing as a magician under the stage name Frank Cadillac. While his show doesn't impress many, he shocks the crowd by predicting the exact moment a woman's necklace will fall. Little does he know, 2 FBI agents are watching him closely from the audience.
Frank barely makes enough from his show, so he spends his free time gambling in casinos. Unknown to everyone, Chris possesses a unique ability. He can see 2 minutes into his own future. He carefully places small bets to win modest amounts, avoiding any big jackpots that might draw unwanted attention. Despite his caution, the casino security team, led by Roy Ball and his partner Davis, has been monitoring his unusual winning streak on CCTV, trying to prove he's cheating.
Watching Chris, Roy Ball is convinced something is wrong. Davis notes that Chris isn't card counting, and Roy suspects he might be using some kind of system, even remarking that Chris looks directly at the camera as if he can hear them. Alarmed, Roy orders his team to move in and apprehend Chris. Having already seen this future, Chris immediately leaves the table and heads to the cashier to cash out his chips.
Standing at the cashier, Chris looks 2 minutes ahead and has a terrifying vision. He sees a man pull a gun, rob the cashier, shoot 2 people dead, and escape. As the vision ends, the actual man approaches the counter. Before the robber can draw his weapon, Chris springs into action, lunging at the man and disarming him in a brilliant display of foresight.
Casino security arrives instantly, with guns raised. They completely misunderstand the situation, seeing Chris holding the gun over the subdued man. Chris tries to explain the man was going to shoot people, but realizing they won't believe him, he takes off running. Davis directs the guards through the surveillance system, but Chris uses his ability to stay 1 step ahead, evading every move.
Chris ducks into a restroom, quickly changes his outfit, and walks back out, completely disguised. By the time Davis realizes what happened and alerts the team, Chris is already heading for the exit. He escapes the casino, steals a car, and speeds away. Roy contacts the Las Vegas police, igniting a high-speed chase. As Chris approaches a train crossing, his vision shows him getting hit if he slows down. Instead, he floors the gas, crossing just seconds before impact and successfully escaping the police. FBI Agent Callie Ferris shows the casino footage to her boss. She has been tracking Chris for months, believing his luck is actually a definable supernatural ability. While her boss is focused on a nuclear weapon stolen by European terrorists, Callie insists Chris's ability could help find it. Her boss reluctantly gives her 5 days. Chris, meanwhile, visits his old friend Irv, who scolds him for this life on the run. Irv urges Chris to forget the woman he constantly sees in his visions, the very reason he visits the same diner twice every single day. Chris explains this woman is special. With her, his usual 2-minute foresight limit vanishes. Irv warns him against risking everything for a vision. Suddenly, Chris freezes, seeing a future where an undercover cop is on her way. Irv tells him to run, but Chris decides to stay and see what she wants. Moments later,
Agent Callie Ferris walks in. Callie talks to Chris alone, dropping heavy hints that she knows about his ability to see the future. Chris plays dumb, pretending she's talking about his magic act. Callie gets to the point. A nuclear bomb is in the country, and they need his help. She tries to appeal to his sense of responsibility, but Chris refuses, fearing the government will just lock him up and use him. Callie then brings up the casino gun and the stolen car, threatening to throw him in Folsom Prison. Chris reveals he has been tortured by observed play therapy since he was 3 and just wants a normal life. As he firmly refuses again, armed FBI agents suddenly storm the room and surround the building. Then, time rewinds. It turns out Chris had only seen this outcome in his vision. Using that foresight, he tells Irv he was right and quickly escapes through the back door. Seconds later, Callie enters the room, only to find Irv playing pool alone, realizing she missed Chris by seconds. In a parking lot, Roy Ball is approached by 2 people claiming to be Gaming Commission employees, asking about Chris Johnson. When Roy stays silent and claims he doesn't know Chris, the woman ruthlessly shoots him in the knee. The man then pulls a knife, demanding answers. The next day, Chris is back at the diner. At the exact moment he's been waiting for, the woman from his visions finally walks in. Her name is Liz. A stunned Chris watches Liz sit at a nearby table. He begins running through multiple future scenarios to find the perfect approach, predicting every possible line and outcome. "Excuse me, do you have a light?" "Sorry to bother you. I have a question about the coffee." None of his attempts work. Liz rebuffs every advance. Then, Liz's aggressive ex-boyfriend, Kendall, shows up. Kendall confronts Liz and refuses to let go of her hand. Chris steps in, ordering Kendall to back off. When Kendall throws a punch, Chris effortlessly dodges every single blow, talking to Liz calmly the entire time. Still, Liz isn't impressed by the scene and walks away. That future fails, and time resets. This time, Chris intentionally lets Kendall punch him. Liz immediately steps in, screams at Kendall, and stays behind to help Chris. As they talk, Chris claims his car was stolen and that he's trying to get to Flagstaff. Liz reveals she teaches there and, feeling sympathetic, offers him a ride. On the road, Chris suggests their meeting was destiny, but Liz disagrees, saying she doesn't believe in destiny. Meanwhile, Callie and Kavanaugh track Chris to the diner, learning about his daily 8:09 exit and his trip to Flagstaff with Liz. Callie then learns that Roy Ball has been found brutally murdered, his throat cut and kneecap shattered, realizing the terrorists are trying to eliminate Chris. Chris and Liz arrive at an Indian settlement where Liz works part-time. Chris mentions meeting the tribe's shaman. One student innocently asks if Chris is her boyfriend, noticing how he admires her. Chris performs a charming coin trick for the birthday boy, delighting the children and impressing Liz. She asks where he learned magic, and he explains he performs as Frank Cadillac, inspired by Frankenstein and Cadillacs. Later, a blocked road due to flooding forces them to head to the Cliffhanger Motel for the night. At the FBI office, Kavanaugh informs Kavanaugh that traffic camera footage has positively identified Chris. They use advanced imaging to notice Liz's car permit number, ordering a track on her vehicle. At the motel, Chris settles Liz into a room with a fireplace.
When Liz notices there's only one bed, Chris reassures her and says he'll sleep in the car. Feeling guilty, Liz gives him a blanket. Later, she watches him from the window, sleeping in the car.
The next morning, terrorists unload and assemble the stolen nuclear device. The assassins report that federal agents are searching for Chris Johnson, and though the leader dismisses the idea of Foresight, he orders Chris's elimination to avoid compromises. Kavanaugh informs Callie they've tracked Chris and Liz to Flagstaff. Director Wisdom issues a highest-level nuclear alert and demands progress. Callie orders full resources and a capture team, insisting Chris is the only key to finding the bomb before it detonates in Los Angeles. FBI forces mobilize, unaware they are being monitored by the terrorists through a spy. Callie arrives in Flagstaff and coordinates the lockdown. Back at the motel, Chris and Liz share a romantic moment, and Liz admits maybe she does believe in destiny. Callie and Kavanaugh intercept Liz outside the motel, showing her the casino footage of Chris with a gun, painting him as a dangerous sociopath. Kavanaugh hands her pills to knock Chris out, pressuring her to drop one in his drink exactly 2 minutes after he leaves the room. Liz returns, pretending nothing is wrong, and Chris senses it. When Kendall is mentioned, Chris proves his ability by flawlessly predicting every line spoken on various TV channels. Stunned, Liz asks how he does it. Chris explains he was born with 2-minute foresight, but with her, that limit vanishes. He reveals the FBI wants his help and that he has been searching for her. He hands Liz an envelope with $10,000, tells her to set her watch 7 minutes ahead, and promises to find her again. After a final kiss, Chris leaves. Outside, Callie orders immediate pursuit. Following Chris's instructions, Liz drives the car down a slope, causing a massive water tower to collapse. Chris evades a terrorist sniper and uses the falling logs to block the pursuing agents, calculating every move perfectly. However, Callie is waiting with her gun raised. She sacrifices herself by letting massive logs roll toward her, forcing Chris to rush forward and pull her to safety just as they crash. Callie immediately orders his capture. Liz is then abducted by a terrorist operative. In a military bunker, Chris is forced to look into the future for the bomb. He has a horrific vision of Liz being killed on a rooftop. Snapping back, Chris escapes and leads Callie to the oil tanker where Liz is trapped. Chris guides the team around each trap. Liz is rescued and the bomb vest is removed. However, staring at a seismograph, Chris realizes the truth. Liz was only a distraction, and the real bomb detonates elsewhere, wiping out the city. Then, time snaps back. Everything was just another future vision. Realizing how to prevent this catastrophe, Chris makes a choice. He calls Callie himself and agrees to cooperate fully on the single condition that Liz must be left out of it completely. Callie agrees, and Chris nods, getting into the car with her as they drive off. What did you think of Chris's ultimate choice to prevent this catastrophic future? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Phistoric for more deep movie breakdowns. Stay safe, and see you next time.